Hello, I've had a few requests from a few different patrons about how I edit my pictures and if I could go into a little bit more detail. I recently posted a video on YouTube where I talked a little bit about how I edit pictures, but even in that I still glossed over quite a few things. So what I'm going to do is this will be another bonus video this month. I mean, you've already had a bonus video this month, but this is a bonus video, and I might make this available to everyone, even the lowest tier, just because I'm going to do like very minimal editing. It's just going to be me chatting with this screen recording, so I think I'll just make this video available to everyone. But I'm about to start editing this collage which I did recently. You might have seen me post about it. So this was a commission I did for actually one of my Patreon members, Paula, and I'm about to edit the finished thing because I want to post it to Instagram and, you know, want it looking good for Instagram. So as you can see, I've taken, so this piece was quite big, this is A3, so I took a picture of each corner of the piece, as you can see. So I've got 4 pictures of each corner. I took this with pretty bright light, but even with the bright light, it's still, you can see like this is supposed to be white, but it's more like cream, and it's quite, you know, it doesn't look its best. And also I know what the real piece looks like, and the real piece looks a lot better than this, and the colours are completely different. Now the difficult thing with this is I no longer have it. Usually when I'm editing a piece, for example this one, this is a recent little collage I made for my top tier Patreon member who gets like a little original every month, and I edited this with the actual collage next to me so I could compare the colours, so it was super accurate. With this one I don't have that with me because I've sent it to her, so I don't have it with me, which will make it a little bit harder to edit because I won't have it to compare, but we'll see how I get on. So what I used to do, and in the video I just posted about how I make prints, now what I used to do is I would get the pictures and I would perfectly try to match them up by putting it on a low opacity. And well, let me just get this full screen for you. Let me just move these guys. I would get this on full opacity, and then I would perfectly try to line it up. And depending on how accurate I was with my picture taking, it would depend on how much I would go into edit, edit, transform, warp, and then just perfectly try to match the image up so that it perfectly worked. So that's what I did in that video, and that's what I've been doing for years. Anyway, in that video, in the comments of that video, someone was like, oh, did you know there's this tool in Photoshop which joins it together for you? So that has been a game changer. I did it for this one, which I've just edited. I had 2 pictures here which I joined together, and let me tell you, this is a real time saver. So what I've recently just learned today is if you go to File, Automate, Photo Merge, you get this that comes up, and you go to browse, and you can select the pictures you want to join together. So I want to select these 4 pictures, open, okay, and then I'll just wait a little bit. It takes a few seconds to do it, but you know, obviously a lot quicker than if I was to do it myself. And there you go, like magic, it has just joined those pictures together, and it has saved me probably about 10 to 15 minutes worth of work. So if I'll do a little close-up look here just to make sure that it has just where the seams are, making sure that it's not messed up any of the seams. Just have a nice close-up look. Any messes up, because on this one it did mess up a little bit. You can still see it here, but it doesn't really bother me anyway. Here it's kind of messed up the gingham, not the kind of squares, the lines on this, you can see obviously it's messed that up, but that doesn't bother me because I purposefully try to draw my lines wobbly anyway, so I kind of like the way that looks. So it didn't bother me. I kept it because in a way that looks a bit purposeful, even though it wasn't. So where's it gone? I've lost it. There it is. I've got a lot of things open on Photoshop at the moment. Oh, I should also mention, if you didn't watch the print video that I recently posted, I talked about my Photoshop membership, because Photoshop is very expensive. Oh, here we go. Right, so you go to Photoshop, we scroll down, and it says here Photoshop for £22 a month, which is quite expensive. for Photoshop. So I almost got this, but then I realised that if you carry on looking, type in Photoshop and Lightroom membership, it's a lot cheaper for some reason. Here you go. So you can get Photoshop on its own for £22, or you can get Photoshop and Lightroom, which is just another photo editing app, for £10 a month. So there's my little tip for you there. Get Photoshop and Lightroom. The reason it's cheaper is just because you get less cloud storage, but personally for me that's not an issue because I save everything directly to my laptop. I don't really use cloud anyway. So there's my tip. If you are thinking of getting Photoshop, pay the £10 a month and not the £22 a month. So I'm just going to start. So I've got my picture. I'm just going to take this into my file that I had open. This is just an A4 sheet of paper at 600 dpi. So when you set up, so I should probably show you this as well. So File, New, I have my A4 sheet of paper here, and I set the resolution to 600 pixels per inch, RGB colour at 8-bit. I don't really mess about with any of this. Just as long as it says 600, that's the file I use if I'm going to be editing something. Although really for this, because it would just be an Instagram post, 300 dpi will be fine. But if I'm thinking about making something into a print, like where is it, like this piece, this is 600 dpi, just then I have the opportunity, I have the option to print it much bigger than it actually is. So I could print this, even though the original piece is A6, I could print this A5, even A4 if I wanted, and it would still be super crisp because the file is 600 dpi. So for prints I do 600, but for just Instagram stuff I do 300. Anyway, so here you can see all these are separate layers at the moment, but because I'm happy with how it's joined it all together, I'm pretty confident to just merge these layers. So if you just right click, or I'm on a laptop, a Mac, so I just do the 2-finger click, and then I've got my picture. So I'm going to just go around the edge of this with the polygonal lasso tool. You can get that. I just jumped to it and didn't explain how I got there. I use the keyboard shortcuts because it's just a lot quicker, but you can also just get to it here. You press L and that's how you get the lasso tool. I recommend learning the keyboard shortcuts because it really does save you a lot of time. And you know, it's a bit of a learning curve to get used to it, but over time it is, like, I use the keyboard shortcuts for everything now. I very rarely actually go over to here. What am I pressing? The pressure of the screen record, I'm pressing the wrong things. Right, so I'm just going to go around bit by bit and remove it. So here, this here, oh go away, this here was a straight edge pretty much, so I could use the straight edge tool, but here it's a bit more wiggly, so I'm going to go to the magnetic lasso tool just to go down this little lip here and just take my time with it. I should also say a lot of the tools I use, probably all of the tools I use, will exist on other editing softwares which are probably cheaper than Photoshop. I just use Photoshop because it's what I'm used to and I don't want to have to learn how to use another software, and for me £10 a month isn't that bad because I do use it almost every day, so I don't mind paying that. But there probably are free softwares out there or much cheaper softwares out there which do the exact same things as Photoshop. Right, I'm going to switch to my polygonal lasso tool just to do that little edge. Sometimes the magnetic lasso tool will just be weird and awkward and you just have to switch to the polygonal. I don't know what I'm saying. I've said magnetic and polygonal too much. So I'm just working my way down here. With collages it's pretty simple because most of it is just straight lines. On a piece like a painting with lots of, I don't know, flyaways and not a strict edge where it stops, that's a whole different thing. That requires I usually use the rubber if it's something with a much more complicated edge. With collage it's very clear to see this is it, this is what I want to keep and this is what I don't want to keep. But with a painting with a fuzzy edge, that finding the line between what to get rid of and what to keep is a little bit harder, so I will just use the rubber tool for that and just rub it out with the with the paintbrush. Right, so I'm just going to work my way around here. I've switched to the magnetic lasso tool again because we've got some wobbly edges here. I'm just doing it bit by bit. I like to do it section by section. I mean, I could just do this whole thing in one go, but then if I make a mistake, it's just harder to fix. So I just do it in little bits. Alright, so here, here we've just had a bit where the lasso has gone, you know, it's gone where I don't want it to go. That's kind of the downside to the magnetic lasso tool. Sometimes it does jump where you don't want it to jump, but you can go up here and you want, so this button here with the 2 coloured in squares, that lets you add to the selections. The dotted line is where you've selected, and then this, if you press this one, that will let you take away from the selection like that. So obviously I can see this dotted line has gone somewhere I don't want it to go, so I'm going to make sure I have this button pressed so I can take it away, because I don't want to lose any bits of the artwork. Okay, so right now I'm going to carry on and I'll come back once it's done. Actually, I've just noticed where the photo merger, which I did right at the start, has messed up. You can see this shouldn't be there and that should actually be on the end of this. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to press J, or alternatively you can go over here and it's a spot healing brush here, and then I'm just gonna, this basically just gets rid of imperfections. Go over that and you can see that that's now gone, but here we are left with a faded out edge. So I might just fart about with this for a bit and see if it can magically fix it. See, I mean, I've done that. If I was selling this as a print, I would probably spend a bit more time to fix that area, and I would do that by kind of grabbing a bit with the selection tool, and then I'll Command C, Command V to copy and paste it. So I've now got this as my own little layer, and just move that down. So you see here we've got like quite a fuzzy edge because it's not properly merged, and there you can see it's just fixed it. So actually, you know what, I will keep that because that actually didn't take too long, but because this is for Instagram, I'm not going to be that picky about it. But if it was a print, obviously I want it to look perfect. For Instagram, I will sometimes just let things like that slide, because who is zooming in and looking that closely at something? Okay, so this is the last bit to get rid of, and there we go, it's gone. You can also, if you want to save a bit of time, I haven't done it, but you can use the Magic Wand tool. That will automatically select the area for you, but I often find with that, well, obviously it's done it kind of perfectly now because I've gone around and cut it out, but if I was to do this on the piece with the border around it, it probably would be a little bit wobbly and it wouldn't be perfect. So you can use that, but often I find the results aren't the best, so it is easier, though it's a little bit more time consuming to just go around and do it manually, but you know, that is an option. So I've got this, and to be fair, this is actually looking pretty good, and I don't think it will need that much tweaking, but it's kind of hard for me to tell because I don't have the original piece next to me to actually compare the colours, but I'm just going to kind of guess from my memory. But usually what I do first is I press Command L, or you can also just go to Image, Adjustments, Levels, or it's much quicker to just press Command L. You get this little tool up here. Usually I will bring this middle bar here, you can see that goes really dark, really light. I'll bring this middle bar a little bit to the left. You can see that just lightens the piece ever so slightly, but you don't want to go too far. It's always much easier to make a piece lighter than it is to make a piece darker, so just do it little bit by little bit, and you can obviously bring that up as well, but I reckon I might just bring that down. You can just play around with this, but basically this deals with the darks, this deals with the lights, and this deals with like the midtones. So usually bring this a bit to the left, this too, potentially, it depends, and then bring this down just to up the contrast a little bit. And you can see if I press OK, I can toggle between and see before and after. If I press Command Option Z, and I can just toggle between the two, and I can see obviously the brighter version looks much better. Then next I'll go Command U, that will bring up hue and saturation, or you can obviously go to Image, you can also just go Image, Adjustments, where are you hiding? Hue and saturation there. So I'm just going to bring that up, and also I usually most of the time will just up the lightness ever so slightly and the saturation. And sometimes I might even just mess about with that just to see if just, I don't know, just because I'm curious, what will it look like? Sometimes it looks a bit better if I slide it just like a few points either way, but I'm quite happy with how it looks as it is. So press OK, let's have a look. Is that better? I think it's a little bit better. It's getting there. Next up, I'll usually press Command B or image. Select my image. Also, you have to make sure your image is selected to do anything, because if you press off and you try to do Command L or try to go up to your adjustments and it's not highlighting, it's just because you've not pressed on the actual layer. So image, adjustments, what was I doing? Color balance, or you can press Command B. And usually, a lot of the time, I will up the red, up the yellow, and up the magenta, because that's just my personal preference. And also it just depends on the piece and the lighting I had whilst taking the piece, but usually I do prefer the way it looks when I do that. And I don't want to go too mad with this because I like to keep it subtle, but you can see, I don't know, I mean, can you even notice a difference there? I mean, it's basically non-existent. Let me push it a little bit further. Let's have a look, see. I mean, it's so subtle you can't even tell it's happened. It's kind of hard for me to figure out what to do next because I don't have the original piece with me to compare it, but I'm pretty happy with this. And what I will do next is, I know that these pieces of paper down here, so if I press the eyedropper tool by pressing I, or it's just here at the side, and I'll select this bit here, and I can see on the colour chart that this is way down here, but really I want it to be more like up here, because I know the pieces of paper in real life, this is a much more cream, lighter bit of paper. So that's quite a helpful tool actually. Just if you're struggling to know if your colours are correct, just do a little eyedropper tool and see where it sits on the old scale, and you can figure out how much you need to alter it. So I want to just alter purely this colour. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to Image, Adjustments, Replace Colour. And actually, let me just say before I do this, this here has been rasterised. I don't really know what rasterising means, but let me show you an example. So if I bring in a fresh image here and press tick, you can see here it has this little icon next to it, which looks like a little piece of paper. That means that that is currently unrasterised. And it means that any editing you do to it, I should probably have said this at the start to be honest, any editing you do to it, so if I press levels and mess about with it a bunch, now turns up as a smart filter, so you can then turn that on and off. And it's basically a way to edit your pictures without being too worried about ruining it, because this one, because this version, which has been rasterised, once I've edited it, I can't go back unless I press Command Z. So if it's not rasterised, you can mess about with it and still change it and tweak it. The problem with this is there are certain things you can't do to an image whilst it's rasterised. For example, you can't do what I'm about to do, which is Image, Adjustments, Replace Colour here. You can't replace the colour to something which hasn't been rasterised. So I just usually will rasterise all my images, and to do that is you double click it and you just scroll down, you press rasterize, and that gets rid of that little icon, and this is now something which you can completely do all the editing things to, but you won't have the option to go back to previous edited versions like you can. Anyway, that's rasterizing. So if you're trying to do something and it's grayed out and it won't let you press it, it might mean that you need to rasterize it. Anyway, so Image, Adjustments, Replace Colour. I'm just going to zoom in a little bit so I can get closer to it. Image, Adjustments, Replace Colour. I'm going to select this little bit here, and I can see on my box there it's way too far down, so I'm just going to lighten it, and you can see here it moves up, so I find that really handy to see where this is. I'm going to just try and get it a little bit lighter, because I know that the actual piece of paper that was stuck down is quite a cream pale colour, so I want it to be as accurate to the piece as I can get it. Let's have a look at the before and after, so you can see now that has, because this colour is quite similar to this colour, you can see it was affecting colours which I didn't necessarily want it to affect. So what I'm going to do instead, because I don't want it to affect here, because I like the colour of that, is I'm just gonna select this area on its own so it won't affect any of the rest of the image. Do it again. And now I can see I've affected that piece of paper without affecting any of the rest of the piece. And I'll do this a lot. I mean, it's a bit fiddly to go around and select everything, but you know, has to be done, I'm afraid. Image adjustments, replace colour. Just lighten that colour a little bit. Might even make it a little bit warmer. And there we go. So I will just go through and slightly tweak colours if they're a bit off. Another tool which is quite helpful is, let me find it, it's along the edge here. Is it this one? Yeah, burn and dodge. I don't use it that often, but sometimes it does come in really handy. Dodge will make areas lighter, burn will make areas darker, sponge will make areas either more saturated or less saturated. So let's say I was unhappy with the darkness of this A, and I wanted to edit this without affecting any of the rest of the piece. I could go to, let's go to switch this to shadow, so I want to only affect the shadows. And let me turn this to a higher percent so you can actually see it working. And I don't know if you can tell, but as I'm going over this area, it is just getting lighter. Now obviously I don't really want to do that, but I just wanted to show you it as an option, and that can come in really handy, especially if there was a bit of your piece which was in shadow when you took the picture. That can just come in really handy to fix the shadow. Right, I'm just going to check that this horizon line is straight, because it would be good for that to be straight. See, that is slightly off, and I'm going to be a bit picky and make sure that horizon line is straight, because you know horizons are usually straight. I think it's going to bug me if I don't fix that. So I've just gone image, let me show you what I did. I didn't speak through. I went to image adjustments, no I didn't, I went to edit, transform, down here warp. It's quite a handy tool. Oh, and I should also say I grabbed that ruler line. If you have the ruler on, sometimes the ruler isn't on. If you don't have this ruler at the top of your Photoshop file, just go to view and select your ruler. So there, I've turned my ruler off, but I always have my ruler on. I find it really handy. So if you just grab the ruler and then pull down, you'll get a line, and to get rid of it, you just grab the line and pop it back up to the ruler. So that's quite a handy tool. Right, let me warp this. So I've still got it selected. So this is quite a handy tool. I will use this a lot if the picture I took was a little bit wonky, or there's a piece of paper which I'd like to be straight which isn't straight. Yeah, this warp tool I use quite a lot. It is quite handy. Right, so I fixed my horizon line a little bit. It's not perfectly straight, but it's a bit better. I Command Z, you can see the difference between my wonky horizon and my straight horizon. So drag that line back up. Let's review the situation. I mean, I'm pretty happy with this. It's hard to really know what to do when I don't have the piece with me. I think the colours were slightly different in real life, but I can't really remember what those colours were, but I'm actually quite happy with that. For an Instagram post, that will get the job done. Let me just colour pick and have a look at this sky, because I know the sky in real life was really pale. I mean, it is pretty pale, but could it be paler? I might just do a quick image adjustments. Oh, not match colour. Let's select this bit here and then just make it a tiny bit brighter. Oh, there we go. I think that's nicer. I mean, it's really subtle, but you can see. Can you tell? Can you tell? That little bit of sky is lighter. And you know what? I think that might do. So I'm going to just drag this over. I'm going to Command C. Luckily, I already have a Photoshop file open with a nice paper texture background. This is just a paper texture I found on the internet, and I've edited quite a bit to match my aesthetic. I'll show you the original picture. It's hidden in one of these folders. Helpful, there we go. This is the original paper texture, which I found just online, and I have obviously edited that quite a bit to match what I want. So this is what I put behind most of my Instagram images, and I've already copied it. I can Command V. There we go, there it is. Drag it down, plonk it in, and then that's kind of ready to go on Instagram. I might see, sometimes I'll mess about. So this is currently on normal up here, but I can also set it to multiply, and that will kind of make it a little bit see-through. So let me unlock my paper texture layers so you can see how that's affected. Can you kind of tell how you can almost see the paper texture behind the image? I don't know if that's quite coming across. Well, that's what multiply does. It makes it kind of transparent so you can see whatever's underneath. Sometimes I'll do that to just make the image look a bit more cohesive. I don't really think this one needs it. I'll just keep that on normal. And that is what I will upload to Instagram. And then this is what I would turn it, I mean, I'm not going to turn this into a print, obviously, because it was a commission for a woman. This was a picture that she took, you know. So this won't be getting turned into a print. But if I was turning it into a print, this would be the file. So there you go. That's my more in-depth video about how I edit. Hope this has been interesting. There are quite a few more things that I do, but this is the basic stuff which I do for most images. That's it. I hope you've liked this little tutorial. I will make this available to everyone because it has been quite a quick and easy video to film. And I imagine I won't do much editing either. But there you go. I hope you've enjoyed this little, this more in-depth tutorial, and hope it's been helpful. And I should also finish this by saying I am not a Photoshop expert. There are probably ways to do stuff. Oh, I've just seen a mistake. I don't like that little dot there. I am not a Photoshop expert. There are probably ways to do things which are much easier and more streamlined. This is just what I've learnt and taught myself in the many years I've been using Photoshop. These are my techniques. They might not be the best way to do it, but this is just how I do it. So if you know a better way to do something, please put it in the comments, share your knowledge with us, because I didn't know how to merge photos together in Photoshop until like the other day, and that has saved me so much more time. So if you know a way to do something which is going to help, feel free to pop it in the comments. And yeah, I'm just going around and tidying a few things now. I mean, I don't need to do this, it's only Instagram, so I don't really need to do that, but there you go. Right, I'm done. Bye.